trust your intuition. I think we have an intuitive sense of how people might connect with our work, and we create it by something that moves us. You'll find the people who enjoy your work for what it is.
The art world is always changing. It's a dynamic space where creativity and commerce collide. Finding your path and staying true to your craft isn't easy. Welcome to the Professional Artist Podcast. This show explores what it truly takes to build a meaningful and sustainable art career. Each week, we offer intimate, in-depth conversations that reveal which business strategies actually work, giving you the inspiration and insight to fuel your artistic journey. I'm your host today, Cristina Damiani, and in this episode, we explore the world of Teresa Freitas, a fine art photographer from Portugal renowned for her pastel-toned cinematic images that blur the line between dream and reality. With collaborations spanning global brands like Netflix, Dior, and Adobe, as well as a solo exhibition in Seoul that drew over 100,000 visitors, Teresa has built a thriving career by combining her passion for color, storytelling, and photography. In this conversation, we uncovered the elements that define Teresa's unique artistic voice and career. Here's what you'll gain from our discussion. Breaking through on Instagram. From experimenting with mobile photography to growing a global audience, Teresa shares her practical tips for navigating the challenges and opportunities of social media as an artist. Negotiating with brands. Teresa offers insights into how she approaches professional collaborations, from setting clear expectations to negotiating budgets and ensuring her creative vision aligns with the brand's goals. Following your creative compass. Teresa highlights the importance of listening to your inner voice when creating art, staying true to your personal vision, and balancing creative freedom with practical awareness of the art world and market trends. All right, let's head into the gallery and explore the world of Teresa Freitas. The first photograph Teresa shares with us today was taken inside the Gellert Baths in Budapest, Hungary. The baths are a dazzling Art Nouveau space, and Teresa's image glows in a symphony of turquoise and orange. She walks us through her creative process, telling us the story of the photo and how she approaches composition, light, and of course, the color that gives her images their signature feel.
This is probably one of my iconic images. This was taken in a period where I was pretty much defining my work and my color aesthetics. It was a very full year in terms of traveling, and all of a sudden I just found myself in these spectacular places all over the world, especially Europe. I remember this one specifically, and it's something that it's very close to my heart because I spent 4 or 5 days in Budapest, and I really enjoyed the interiors even more than the exterior of the city. And I went to Gellert Baths. The visit that I did just led me into this outdoor pool, which was really beautiful. But I took the pictures, I got out, and something was wrong, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. And on the last day, it suddenly came to mind, wait, I didn't visit the rooms that I wanted in the baths. Where was this? And I figured out, okay, it's Gellert Baths, but I somehow missed it. So I went back on the last morning before my flight, 1 hour to go, very rushed. I got in fully dressed. Usually I tried to blend in a little bit, but I was fully dressed with a big camera. I wasn't quiet at all. Everyone was noticing me. And that's actually good when you're in a situation like this, that you're very obvious. So people can really speak out loud if they're not comfortable, and you can really tell if they aren't. Everyone was really calm, welcoming in a way. And I took this picture. And since then, it has been one of my favorites because I do feel like it does have that idea that matter of fact and wonder meet in one image. So we have the reality of the place and the people who are there. But through my color work, I managed to create a dreamlike effect to the image. So I feel like it still defines my work very well after all these years. And it's definitely a story that I always smile about when I remembered it. I do feel that I have a certain intuition about the things that I'm photographing. So I already know the type of colors and light that work for what I do with my images in the editing process. Although the moment I capture the picture is important, the part that comes after it is just as important. But I do feel like I already know what images I want to take, what moments I want to capture, and the ones that I discard. But just in terms of light and structure and elements and lines, I feel like through experience and throughout the years, you get a sense of what you like photographing and what works for you. When I was starting, lines were very important, especially vertical lines. So the verticality of an image was always very important. This is one of my few landscape images from this period. So when I was starting, I'm actually a product of Instagram. So I'm a product of mobile photography. And that means that I was taking vertical pictures almost every time. But this one, I need to take this in a landscape mode because that's the only way I can get the full environment in the image. And I was looking very much for architectural elements. So here you have the Art Nouveau style, which renders itself very well to the type of images that I'm doing in this period and in this style. But of course, color always has to be the main character of each image. So the first thing that you see when you look at my image is color, and then you start to discover other things, but color is definitely the main thing that I'm looking for in terms of composition throughout the years. Looking back, I feel like I always had it. Even when I was young, I was very much drawn into the color of cartoons or illustration books. Painting was a very big influence in my life. And even when I went to college, I started with a painting degree, then I changed, but painting was always very important and painting associated with color. Then eventually I started to want to learn more about color and how it shapes our perception. And color theory and color harmony and color balance, so the weight that each color has in an image, started to feel very appealing to me to learn more and start to understand the relationships between colors and how I could use that in my favor when I want my images to have or to produce a certain effect when someone sees them. I think it came since I was a kid, and it kind of grew as time passed, and I discovered this passion for photography.
Photography was present in Teresa's life early on, but she didn't initially see it as a career path. What started as playful photo edits in high school began to shift once Instagram opened the door for her work to be seen by a larger audience. Here, she shares how those first steps on social media shaped the beginning of her journey.
It's important to say that my dad is a very good photographer, although he doesn't practice it anymore as he used to. So photography was very present in our lives, but mostly through family pictures and portraits, but very beautiful portraits. And I remember I was just used to having my dad always with the camera, picturing me and my brothers and my mother, family moments. And when I was, I think, in high school, I found images from him in black and white of what happened before I was born and before they became a bigger family. So pictures when he met my mother or of his friends or of the places that surrounded him, Lisbon. And they were beautiful pictures. And I really remember just being very stuck to that idea that my dad is an amazing photographer. But the truth is, photography didn't seem a realistic career at the time. And I was taking pictures in high school, doing a lot of crazy creative editing. I had just amazing Photoshop skills, I think, for a teenager at the time. I was maybe going to do something in design or illustration. And in 2011, Instagram came and I installed it on my phone, and I remember immediately loving it. I was taking pictures with my phone, like a visual diary every day of the facades of Lisbon or little details that I found. With my phone, I discovered this potential that, okay, I might be onto something. There's something here that first I really enjoy, second that it comes easy to me in a way. And I started to get noticed. And because Instagram still is and was back then an amazing platform to be discovered and to share your image or your point of view or your perspectives and tastes with people around the world. And that made it easier for me to get discovered by brands, by magazines that started to look into my work and featuring in different platforms. And it grew from there until it came to a point this year when I took the Budapest image that I decided, okay, maybe I can be a photographer. So Instagram at the beginning suggested certain users to follow, and I was one of them. That gave me a huge international audience, way beyond any expectations that I might had. And then throughout the years, when I was featured in certain media platforms or specific websites, I grew a little bit more. And when I had my exhibition in Korea, it grew a little bit more. Now it's been a little bit more stale for a while, but it's always like this. It's you appear somewhere and you get a bunch of new people that are interested in your work, and it's great. But it's not like it's a constant growth. It just has its moments.
Like many artists, Teresa sometimes feels the frustrations of Instagram, but she reminds us that consistency and kindness toward ourselves are more important than perfection. That also connects to another challenge many photographers face: the shift toward video on social media.
Sometimes I'm one of those people, really, that gets frustrated with Instagram just because you sometimes feel like you don't understand why certain things reach people, why certain things don't. The first thing I would say is it's really important for Instagram and even I think for ourselves to be consistent, even when you don't feel like posting and you don't feel like being online. And I don't say consistency in terms of be online every day and post every day. That's not what I mean. But maybe finding a schedule that works for you. Like once a week, you post something on Instagram and you do it. And people who follow you and even the algorithm will understand that they can expect an image from you around this time of the week. It's fine if you fail sometimes. It's also very important to be kind to yourself and not be so stuck in this idea that I have to be perfect because no one is. But being happy with what you post. And even when it seems that Instagram has given up on you, try not to give up on it because it still is, I think, one of the best places to show our work independently of how it changed and transformed throughout the years. I would say I have always been very okay with the idea that video is really what's popular today. And that's okay. If I have a very good idea that works on video, I'm really okay with doing it. I understand that people want to gain visibility for their work and think, okay, if Instagram is pushing for video, then I should do video. But is that really visibility of your work and of yourself if you're doing something that you don't identify with? I feel like forcing ourselves into doing something we're not comfortable with will never work in any situation. If you have a good idea of how to show maybe behind the scenes or something that works really well as a new layer that you find exciting, that's great. If not, I would never force myself into doing what's popular or trending. People get that you're maybe not doing something that's true to yourself.
We turn now to the second photograph Teresa shares with us today, an image of the Red Wall apartment complex in Spain, its colors adjusted to her luminous signature pastel palette. She tells us why this place felt so special and how this image brought unexpected visibility to her career.
Roja is probably one of the most special places that I've visited throughout my life. I think it started to gain popularity at a certain moment, but when I discovered this place, it was still relatively unknown to the World Wide Web. And I feel like that gave me a push into being discovered because this image really gained a lot of attention. And I really like it because, one, it reminds me of a painting by Escher, so the Infinite Stairs. And of course, color is very important here. And the yellow hat for me is just the cherry on top of the cake. And it's a very special place. Number one, it's a bit in the middle of nowhere, but it faces the sea. and it's a red fortress. And when I say fortress, it's because it really protects you in a way, and you feel very at peace and safe inside. So the outer walls are this bright red, and the inner walls are the soft pink and blue that, for me, had been my colors throughout the years as a photographer and a colorist. Especially the lighter tones of these colors have been very present. It was probably the image that got me the exhibition in South Korea, because they were crazy about this place. They wanted more images. Can we see more of this amazing place? What is this? Because around that time, Squid Game also showed up, and they also have this very strong influence of the Escher or Ricardo Bofill's architectural work. So it kind of catapulted me into more visibility. At the time, I decided, okay, maybe I can make enough money out of being a photographer. I can make my passion into a career and continue to do this and focus on traveling to these amazing places and photographing them in my style.
Teresa will now share one of her breakthrough moments that came directly from Instagram and how the early informal collaborations on that platform opened the door to building her career, leading to key lessons learned about the nature of collaborating with major brands.
It's interesting because I was on Instagram just taking pictures with my phone. I didn't have a digital camera. And this agency, a French agency, contacted me, just reaching out saying, "We love your work. We have a new campaign for a vodka brand, and we'd love for you to take pictures of it in your style." And it was very informal. I was young. I didn't even think about, okay, we need to do a contract. No, it was like they sent me the bottle, I sent them the pictures, they paid me, and it all went very well, but it could have completely gone wrong. So there were a bunch of interactions on Instagram that were very informal and nice, and just brands kind of realizing that they needed to bet a little bit on creators that were in social media as well. And that was great for me because it allowed me to start building that career. Of course, I never thought of collaborating with the names that you just heard and consumed every day. So it's very much a dream for me as well. And the thing is, I was able to approach it in a very simple way of saying, this is another collaboration. It doesn't matter if it's Netflix or a vodka brand or the business of the neighbor next door. What I wanted for collaborations was that I was happy with the images that I was creating. So for me, it was always very helpful sketching the ideas that I have and present them to the brand, because it helps manage expectations in a very visual way. Sometimes you can write a very beautiful and detailed text about what you want to do, but the person on the other side is going to imagine it based on what they have seen so far in their lives, not yours. And just trying to be true to myself, because although it's commercial work, and of course you have a briefing or a product or a service that you're trying to show, the fact that color had to be present all the time, or the way that I compose my images, verticality or symmetry or asymmetry, something that really defined my work. And that's what I tried to do with these brands, either big or small, always tried to do that.
Business collaborations can be a difficult skill for many artists to master. Teresa will walk us through how she approaches negotiating major collaborations, including practical strategies and the mindset that helps her advocate for herself while maintaining positive relationships with clients.
I would say most of the times they ask, what's my budget? And what I try to do is get them to say what budget they have. When it's an agency, it's sometimes a little bit easier because I just directly ask them, so what budget does the brand have for the photographer or for the art director? Can I have an assistant, etc.? It would be important for me to know how much money you have allocated for this, because that makes me understand how much can I do for you. Because if you tell me you only have $1,000, then I'm very limited in terms of what I can do for production. What type of props can I get? Or a lot of variants that change because things cost money and my time costs money, of course. A negotiation is always possible. They say they only have this. I say, oh, but I would be more comfortable with this. They maybe go up a little bit more, or we adapt, or maybe we lose a few images in the process because they're not possible within the budget. If it's directly with the brand, it's sometimes a little bit harder, but I really try to push it to the max before I say a number. Because for me, that was always very difficult to find the exact number for something that I was doing that was new. So it's easier for me to define after knowing how much time I went through with it or the materials that I used. And it's a conversation, really. And it's okay. Everyone understands that we need to be paid for our work. If the brand doesn't understand that, then they're probably not the type of brand you or I want to work with. So it's fine to talk about money and just try to come up with a number that feels comfortable and realistic to what you're being asked to do. It gets easier with time and practice. It's like talking in public. The first times are really terrifying. And for me, it's still a very difficult thing to do. But the more I do it, the easier or more comfortable. You just have to rip it off like a Band-Aid and push through. Sometimes it's useful to talking to other photographers. For example, I can't remember what the collaboration was, but I knew the photographer that did it before me. And I just reached out to them and said, maybe it's a little bit rude, I hope you don't mind, but for me it's really complicated. And the truth is, it's complicated for almost every artist. Do you have any idea of the type of values that they work with? Are you comfortable with sharing what they paid you? Or if not, like a range for what you did? Most people are comfortable with sharing just to help each other and support each other. I feel it's very important. And just be nice about it when you're talking to brands and to the person who reached out to you. Maybe get on a video call, get to know them, get them to see your face, because a lot of our work is done through emailing and we don't see each other's faces. And it's really important to see each other's eyes and smiles and realize what the tone of the conversation is.
Can you think of a moment in one of these collaborations where it was difficult, where you had a misunderstanding or a problem, and how did you work through that?
So the first thing that comes to mind was a collaboration that didn't end. Well, I created everything, but in the end, they didn't use what I did. And that was really hard for me. So it was a big brand and gave me this very good freedom of do it your style. And I did the sketches and I did the mood board. And it's still when I got back to them, they said, oh, no, this doesn't fit with what we were hoping for or what we wanted. It was looking a little bit springtime and it was for Christmas. I think first the mistake was that I didn't have that video call with them and that we didn't talk through their expectations for the mood. Because if I knew that they wanted something more Christmas, maybe I would have chosen different props. I chose flowers, and that's why it kind of came up a little bit spring-like. And it was a little bit heartbreaking because you always give a little bit of yourself in these collaborations. And in the end, they didn't use it. And I just felt a little bit rejected or a little bit of failure in a way. But it really is just a moment to learn and to avoid for the next time. It is a part of the artist journey. It really is a part of life. And we all go through it. And I feel like not talking about it sometimes or not sharing the failure moments because we're embarrassed by them really does not help. The fact that you do share and let others share and create that empathy between artists and friends and family and professionals really helps to understand that it's not the end of the world if you fail. I know the brand, they were really nice. They paid for what we agreed, even though they didn't use it, because they were a very good established brand that could afford something like that. For me, it was always very important to give that moment of failure time. You'll understand that it wasn't really that big of a deal. And especially if you share it with others and understand that everyone goes through it in a point in their lives, then it's human to do it.
Teresa's final piece today shows us her evolving approach to photography. It's an abstract image, an orange, glowing orb that fades into a green background. She explains what it is and how this project pushed her to explore stories beyond immediate subject matter.
I chose it on purpose because for the last 2 years, I started a new approach to photography. Of course, color is still very important to me, but after doing it for so long, the same style of pictures, I really wanted to push myself a little bit more and try something new. And one thing that I really loved doing was consuming stories. So I thought I should be telling more, maybe. And what type of stories do I want to tell? And I decided I'm going to focus on a subject and go around it and see what I can document in a way that has a little bit of the documentary approach or post-documentary approach, but still is very personal and still has a little bit of the poetic view that I feel like you get from my work. So a couple of years ago, I decided to focus on flowers, but in the sense of what's around it, or who are the people who are taking care of it for it to grow, what's its role in maybe traditions or ceremonies, rituals, how does it play in economies or daily life. One of the ways that I try to keep myself going as an artist is to have a diversity of sources of income. And one of the things that I most like to do is give workshops and be involved in festivals and meet new people and share knowledge and exchange knowledge. But I also love taking workshops. So every year I try to do at least one. And this was last year. I was doing a workshop with Carolyn Drake, a photographer. Now she's doing more artistic work or the artistic side of photography. Something that I really want to do throughout the years, focus on different flowers around the world and explore what's around them. And I had a very specific way of photographing flowers. But when I talked to her and we had this one-on-one, she gave me a lot of different and very good advice. One thing that she said is, okay, you're going to Japan, you're going to photograph this flower. My challenge to you is to spend the time photographing everything but the flower. And I absolutely loved it. It kind of just sparked something in my brain that, okay, that's such a simple, but exactly what I want to do, because the story starts with a flower, but then it becomes about everything else that's around it. And that's what I did for a month in Japan. I was doing an artist residency and I was photographing everything but the flower. And this is one of the few flower images of the project. It's just a nice detail because in the end, I enjoyed much more photographing the people, the environment, the stories, rather than the flower itself.
Photography can be a solitary practice. Teresa shares what she has learned about the importance of community and how collaborating with others has opened up opportunities to learn, grow, and feel supported as a creative.
I was very much a lonely solo photographer for a long time. During these years that I was traveling and even working with brands was always them sending the product over to me and I'm doing everything in my house and I don't have enough money to pay people to help me, so I'm going to do it by myself. When I did, I think it was the Porsche work that was the first one that I really had a team to work with. And it was easy because everyone had their tasks and their roles and responsibilities, and everyone was helping each other. Everyone was working for the same goal. And I realized, wow, this is so much better than doing it by myself. It just opens up so many opportunities and you learn so much about things that you never really got anyone to teach you. And speaking with people, exchanging experiences not only makes you feel very understood, which is super important to realize that other creative people are going through the same things that you are and you're not alone in this world. And just learning, for me, has always been one of the biggest advantages of being in a community.
Teresa has forged a unique path, and she's done it while staying true to her creative vision. As we close the conversation, she shares the importance of navigating the art world in a way that feels authentic.
The most important thing that I've learned, for me specifically, that you can really make your own way into the art world without these preconceived notions of what an artist should be. I was in a very conceptual fine arts school, so there was a certain idea of what an artist should be. Some of my classmates felt very strongly about artists who also collaborate with brands, or artists who have a more commercial or mainstream, or people can simply appreciate their work for the visual pleasure of it rather than having to have a big background conceptual explanation behind it, which is also fine. I just feel like there's space for everyone because we are billions in this world. Of course, you'll find the people who enjoy your work for what it is and don't really focus on labeling it. Is this art or is this not art? Are you an artist? Are you not an artist? Just do what you feel is right for you. And I think things start falling into place. Trust your intuition. I think we have an intuitive sense of how people might connect with our work, and we create it by something that moves us. And don't look at trends so much or what is shaped by trends, but also be aware of the world you're releasing into it and be kind with that world as well. Generation change and perception change. You have to have a creative autonomy, but also market awareness if you want to succeed in being a healthy, successful, whatever success means, but at least financially stable, that you can make a living out of it. Trust your intuition, but also listen to other people. Don't be so close in your thoughts. It's important to listen to others.
Teresa Freitas' journey is a powerful reminder that blending creativity with strategy can lead to a thriving and meaningful creative career. By combining her love for color, storytelling, and photography, she has built a unique practice and a visual language that resonate deeply with audiences around the world. Her story is a testament to the power of intuition, persistence, and adaptability, whether through her pastel-toned cinematic imagery or her ability to navigate Instagram and negotiate global brand collaborations. Teresa shows us that both art and business thrive when rooted in authenticity. This podcast grows because people like you share it. So if you got value today, if it inspired you to think differently or take action, hit follow or subscribe and send it to one person who needs to hear it. That's how we keep making more episodes. Thank you for listening to the Professional Artist Podcast, and until next time.